All right, welcome into Cleveland Browns Daily. Merely Bo, the great Z, the great Bubba Ventrone, right off the gates, man. Good to see you, Coach.
I don't think I've ever been called the great Bubba Ventrone.
Well, first time for
now
everything.
you got it.
And I
now
think,
you got
by
it.
the way, people have dropped the ball previous to this then, if they haven't.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. That feels like a their problem more than anything else. How you doing, man? Good, just fresh off the practice field.
I'm doing great. We've had a really good offseason so far, so excited.
You know, we'll get into all the new rules and what you're seeing out here, but I did want to go back to last year. And I remember it was around this time that we interviewed you. We were actually over in the undisclosed location at that time. We interviewed you, and you were like a shot of adrenaline when we interviewed you. And Z and I said, gosh, that dude is ready to roll. And then we saw this season play out. And we haven't, I don't think, had a chance to talk with you at length since all of that. But we'd see these images of you in a helmet in the locker room in these post-game ceremonies as Coach was giving the post-game.
It's the best.
It was so great. And your enthusiasm for it. When you look back on last year, a season that had everything, can you put it into perspective now?
Yeah, I think so. It was a fun year for sure to win football games. We won a lot of close football games. And we won a lot of those games off of kicks.
Yes, I was going to say a lot of special teams.
So there was a lot of contributions from our units. You know, we blocked 3 field goals, and we won all the games we blocked field goals in. We led the league in blocked field goals, which is great. I'm really excited about our core group going into this training camp.
How nice is it to have that continuity? You think about the guys that, bombs from Corey Bajorquez, Charlie still at the long snapper. You bring back Dustin Hopkins, who was so great. Just on that side of it alone, how nice is that continuity? The
consistency with the specialist group is so important to the overall, special teams unit. And to be able to have all 3 of those guys back and return is awesome. We're so far ahead with our core group of where we were at this point last year because at least the guys that are returning have been in the scheme and they're not learning everything for the first time.
Yeah.
But I feel really good about our group.
You think about last year, you mentioned D-Hop and Corey, and of course, what else do they have in common other than being great that neither one was able to finish because we had the injuries that happened. D-Hop was unbelievable. And then much like the rest of the roster, you had to find other people to do it. You rarely see that where you lose both the kicker and the punter. Has that ever happened
the same
before?
Game.
And it was you don't see that often. It's never happened to me before. Hopefully, it never happens.
Right,
that's right. Once is enough.
Yeah,
but there is that next man up thing, and then you guys had to do that too because you're chasing the postseason.
And that's what the NFL is about. That it's there's gonna be injuries. The game of football, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's how well can you train and prepare the guys that are on the practice squad, and then obviously have the off the roster emergency list of guys that you're familiar with and just do the right thing. So I feel, like our coaching staff did an incredible job top to bottom last year with that.
There's no doubt about it. What's it like having Cade back?
It's been good. It's been good. He's I feel like he's in a better mindset. He looks more relaxed to me.
Yeah.
The on-field stuff has been pretty good. We're gonna hopefully have a team field goal period at some point in the next 2 weeks. But no, him and Lucas and Corey have been doing a good job.
That's awesome. You think about drafted the way he was, makes his first game ever as a 58-yard walk-off winner in Carolina. And then adds his struggles, gone, goes to another place, and now back. You're right, probably a little bit relaxed. The pressure's not on him to be the savior at that position today.
It's being a specialist is different than being a position player. Sometimes it just takes more time for a kicker, for a punter to make it. There's a handful of guys that have had really good careers that struggled early on, like Carlson in Vegas was cut in Minnesota right away. And they drafted him, I want to say, in the 5th round maybe. You see Jake Bailey in Philly was drafted by Cincinnati. They cut him before the season even started. And now he just got a ridiculous contract in Philly. So I think there's something to be said about having patience with those guys, and fortunately we were able to get him back, and now he can use this time to develop and become a
the clay's there. There's no doubt he's got immense talent.
Yes.
Well, it's like, we hear people use the analogy before, and I think for our audience, you try to wrap your head around what that job is. And that job is, we really don't ever want to know their name until we want to know their name, kind of thing. Like, we don't want to notice them, especially like, oh, wow, who's that doing that? And that's it's a lot like golf, right? For people who golf, like, there's a lot of time in between, and then you get on a tee box, or you get back deep if you're a punter, or you line up to land a kick, and then the expectation is make the thing. And if you don't, it's like, what happened?
Yeah.
And that takes a mental toughness. Can you coach that?
I think it's honestly just trying to put them in that environment as much as you can, treating every practice rep like the game. I know it's hard to do that, but it really is like you just have to have that mindset. If you do miss a kick, you just got to put it to bed. Like, make the correction fast, apply it to the next rep, and can't compound. So, the faster, and I think, like, I know with Dustin does a really good job of self-diagnosing. Like, he knows what he did on a bad rep. He comes back, fixes it. I think that's what we need to get to with Cade. So,
all right, let's talk about what maybe a fun thing, or maybe to you is not a fun thing. But for the first time, you've got completely new kickoff rules. It's going to promote a lot of returns.
And do you remember we were talking a year ago? I think it might have been off air.
Yeah.
We talked about, like, are they going to get rid of the kick?
Get rid of it completely. Yeah,
right. I mean, that was like a year ago. We're like, boy, and we're like, we can't have that. And now this.
I'm going on record. I think the record for kickoff return touchdowns in the NFL will be shattered this year. I think there will be a lot of house calls this year. What do you think?
I think that could be right. I feel that this is an opportunity to make a play on both sides. I think that you can have really good coverage versus play. I think that you can have really good returns versus play. It's how you execute. And I think that early on in the season, you're definitely going to see a lot of different schemes, and there's going to be there's going to be a lot of copycat to everything that other people are doing, especially like in the preseason. And I think that you just have to understand that it's an ongoing, like, throughout training camp, it's going to be an ongoing trial and error with the play to get it right.
So let's say you guys have discovered something, and you're like, okay, this is going to work. How do you decide? And I'll go back to last year when we were joking in here. I'm like, hey, maybe we should have Myles Garrett block a kick, and you'd been sitting on that all year. Unleash it against Indianapolis, and he blocks the kick. How hard what's that balance going to be like? Because I'm sure you said there's going to be a lot of copycatting. You don't want to show, if you guys think you really have something that's going to work, you don't want to show it at all.
Right.
How does that, as a coach and a staff, how do you guys kind of go through,
Yeah.
okay, we've got it, it's going to work once, and then they're going to be onto it, but when do we need that?
I don't know. I don't know if I can give you a direct answer on that, or like, or if I feel like I have the secret out there. But I mean, back to the block field goal. I mean, that was ridiculous. That guy is he's a complete freak.
Yeah,
and I'm glad he's on our team. But no, I feel like, like I said, there's going to be a lot of trial and error with the play, and then just finagling a few things throughout training camp, trying to put your guys in the best spot to make a play. Obviously, we want to have explosive guys in the back end returning. We have a good group of skilled players that we've been getting reps to. You have guys that are not even out there right now, but Naheem obviously has a history.
Yeah.
Jerome Ford's explosive. Pierre. We've been getting like Elijah, Sid Tillman. All those guys have caught balls back there. And,
did they?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Coach.
No, you're good.
Did anyone consult with any of you guys, like special teams coordinators? Like, hey, what do you think about this? Was there any dialogue behind the scenes in the league about, like, hey, we're thinking about making this change. What do you guys think of it?
About the play?
About the play.
Yeah, so we actually met as a coordinator, like all the coordinators met at the combine, and it had been in talks that the play was going to be something similar to this. So we kind of like made the play up. Kind of came from like the XFL. Obviously XFL like background to it, and it's a different play because there can be a lot more scheme with how ours is set up, because they were already aligned on the 35. Ours, our kickoff players are on the 40, and now we have 7 guys on the front line as blockers on the 35, and then you can have 2 off of that. So now you have like certain levels. They only had 1 returner. Mm-hmm. We're able to have 2 returners in the landing zone, which is the 20-yard line to the goal line.
Yeah.
So you can do more things off of it.
Are we gonna?
It's so damn exciting.
It is exciting
because the league doesn't do this. The league doesn't make wholesale changes, fundamental changes to the way the game is played very often.
Right.
It's not. I mean, it's this league. We've done things the same way for a long time, and you make a little tweak here or there. But this is, I think there are going to be fans. I mean this. There are going to be fans the first preseason game or the first time this is done. Going, what is it? What is this?
What's happening?
What is this?
Yeah.
What are they doing? I promise you, that's going to happen.
I think it takes a play that has become kind of obsolete. And kick returners in some ways because, you're a good kick returner, we're just going to kick it out of the end zone. And all these guys in the NFL now, I mean, that's the other thing is just the leg strength around the league. They can just kick it out of the end zone until you can't return it. So now I think it has a chance to be a very exciting play. And you might see, I mean, I could envision a scenario where you guys go out there and say, we're going to throw Joel and Wyatt and like our big guys out there. And if we can win our one-on-one blocks, and he makes one guy miss, he's gone. There's only one level of defense, right?
And I think that there will be more balls returned that are in the end zone. I don't think in the last couple of years you see balls going into the end zone. No one's even going to try to field it. Well, now you have to down every ball. You can't just give the iron cross and the ball hits the ground and it's a touchback. You have to catch and down every single ball.
Okay.
If the ball lands,
I didn't know that.
If the ball hits inside the 20-yard line and rolls into the end zone and you take a knee, it's a touchback, but it goes to the 20.
Okay.
So they're incentivizing returns.
Yeah. I like that.
If the ball's kicked into the end zone in the air and downed, it's a touchback. It goes to the 30. If the ball falls short of the 40-yard line, if the ball falls short of the 20-yard line, it's like they blow the whistle dead. It's like the ball was kicked out of bounds. The ball goes to the 40.
So they're trying to get everything to land between the 20 and the goal line.
Yes.
I like it.
There are, you could argue there aren't many things in sport that are unilaterally more applause the boom than a kick return touchdown.
Oh my God!
We just haven't seen that many.
You're gonna see some plays throughout the league this year for sure. You're gonna see more. I said it earlier with the media. I said you're gonna see higher profile players back there. It's another opportunity to get a really good football player the ball, like one of your best players the ball.
Yeah,
and it's in many cases it feels to me, we were talking about it, that you get a lane, one cut, and if you're through, you're going to be gone.
You're going to see a wide variety of the guys that are actually handling the ball too. Like I think some of the, like I said this earlier, some of the concepts you're going to see you're going to see some kick return concepts. You're also going to see some punt return concepts because you are allowed the blocking. You're allowed to go get on the kickoff team right away. So just think about that. That plays like a punt return almost.
Yeah.
So you could see like smaller guys. You could see bigger guys back there, and you're gonna see a variety of players.
How do you balance? In the past, it was kind of like all linebackers, safeties, and tight ends, right? Because you needed speed, but guys that were big enough that could tackle.
Yeah.
Now, because it's a compressed area,
for sure,
are you going to see bigger guys on both sides? And because then all of a sudden, those guys now they don't take up as much space or cover as much space.
Right. So, I think you will. I think you'll see bigger guys on the return unit. I think you'll see bigger guys.
They're going to have to be.
You're going to see definitely some more defensive, bigger bodies on the kickoff unit that know how to use their hands well. Yeah.
Have you had some more high-profile guys come up to you and say, "Hey"?
Yeah, we have.
Can I interest you?
I want you
to look my way.
Yeah. So when they do that to me, I say, "Well, if you want to be on the unit, you have to come to the meetings. Like you're going to be in the." So they're like, "Okay," but no, we've definitely had some more guys like reach out, and I feel like when we've been practicing, there's like a lot of juice in the huddle. Like those guys are like, because a lot of those guys that are getting reps now, like defensive players, haven't been in that huddle. They haven't done it before.
Yeah.
And they're like excited to do it. And it's another chance to make a tackle. It's another chance to make a turnover.
Yeah. Do you get a sense talking?
I get like
goosebumps. This is a play that has been litigated.
Dormant.
It's been out of our league.
Dormant.
Really. I mean, the kick return has largely been out of our league in terms of taking it to the yard.
Like you think of Devin Hester,
right?
Cribbs, Dante Hall.
That's a long time ago. All those guys. Like it's been a long time since you've had those guys who could and that play. When that play happens to start a game, it's the loudest any NFL stadium is ever.
I remember when Giuseppe ran one back in the preseason. It was bedlam.
It's bedlam.
I actually
remember
that. I remember that play.
Yeah.
Cribbs and like Hester with this play. Oh my gosh.
It'd be over.
Yeah.
It's fun though. Like I
think
just
it's
think
cool,
it's
though.
really
You
cool that the players are responding to it. I think it's really cool. I'd never heard that you guys were consulted on it. I think that's really critical. And I think the winner here is going to be the fan. The fan is going to get another play that's awesome that they haven't had in the game really in about a decade.
Well, think about it. We were talking about Hester and Cribbs and Dante Hall, guys that we all remember, and they were game wreckers. And it was, oh man, they're kicking off to Devin Hester. Like, this is a must see. And now you're going to have a play again where you can have guys that are here just because they're that good at kick returning.
Remember the swag that would come with that?
Like
how Hester would dance around back there waiting, or Dion. Like, are you sure you're going to kick it to me? Really? I dare you. Like, we need that back, and now it seems like we're going to get it.
Talking to your colleagues around the league, are they having the same kind of experience where everybody's in, like, this is an exciting thing, everybody's into it?
I haven't really talked to them about that.
Okay.
Whenever I have those conversations, it's been more like, hey, what have you been drilling on it? Like, because we haven't been really able to go against each other, and even now, like, you can't be physical in the practice.
Right.
So those conversations have been more like, what are you guys drilling? Like, what types of drops have you been doing? Things like that.
So will this get like extra time, to your point, that in like training camp than you would have spent on kickoff in years past?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Because you're gonna have to see it at speed. You're gonna have to see it with pads on. You're gonna have to see it with different body types to figure out what's the best way to configure your coverage group and your return group. Like, which guys can do what the best. So you got to figure it out fast. I'm glad we actually have the joint practice with Minnesota. That'll be helpful to be able to get it against another team before we actually. That's week 2, though. Is that week 2?
I think it's week 2.
So we'll actually have a game before that, but
yeah,
it'll be good to get it in a practice setting, though.
When you think about like putting the helmet back on, as you alluded to earlier, as Bubba the player, like what would you have thought about this, and how would you have wanted to attack it?
Yeah, I mean, no pun intended, because you talked about putting the helmet on. I literally put on a helmet, and me and Bravo were doing drops in the indoor because I wanted to see how, like, because when the ball's kicked, right? There's now before, like, the ball's kicked, you're flying, you can't hear anything, like now the ball's kicked, you're tracking the ball, you're seeing the returner, you got the location. So, like, I wanted to track it both from a return perspective and from a coverage perspective.
Yeah.
It's different. It's a different viewpoint. But for me, like, I think that this play can be really good for both sides. I would have liked to have I like covering from the old school. I would have liked doing this as well. I really would. Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's awesome that this
really
is going to
cool.
be.
I like it.
I mean, I've been fortunate to be in the booth, obviously, for 2 years, and the opening kickoff's usually like, and Jim would be like, and we're underway. Kicks out of the end zone, first and 10 on.
It's not going to be like that.
No, yeah, so there's going to be because you right? You get an opening kickoff, take that. That is a tone setter. I mean, Naheem did it in Buffalo, obviously, after the DeMar Hamlin tragedy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Glad you're watching over it, buddy.
Yes.
Good seeing you.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, good seeing you guys, too.
All right. The great Bubba Ventrone in
right,
studio with us, special teams coach of your Cleveland Browns. We did have an OTA. It was number 6. We'll break that down for you coming up next. We're off and running. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. That's a fun little way to start a program. Bubba Ventrone in here with us for the first 20 minutes. There are a lot of interesting stuff there.
Yes.
I was curious if they asked any of these guys what they thought of this, and he said they did. So that was interesting that they were consulted and that the Combine got together and kind of put it all together.
Yeah.
So some good stuff there. I meant what I said. I do think there's a great many of you who out there listening right now, or certainly those who, the very few who are not, that are going to forget that this happened, that this is in play until the first time you see a regular season game, and you're like, wait, what is this?
Yeah.
And then you see it, and it's a real play now.
It is a real play with real stakes and real opportunity to change a game. And that, to me, is probably the part of it that's the most exciting. The kick has gone from, there's still times when somebody's too good at it. You might say, go ahead and take it. What do they get on the 35 now if it's a touchback? Sure, go ahead and take it. I don't care. Whatever. But I think you're going to see a lot more returns, and I think it's going to be exciting for the game. I was talking with Bubba as we walked out of here after that interview, and I noticed today one of the things, we're talking OTA number 6, one of the things that I saw out there was, Mike Vrabel spending a lot of time with Bubba on special teams, and they were together for 4 years in New England. Mm-hmm. And, Vrabes he said, was kind of like my big brother on that team. And he said he and Teddy Bruschi are the two smartest defensive players I've ever been around in my life. And so to have him out here is so valuable for, our team, whether it's special teams, whether it's offense when he's working with the tight ends or, helping out on that side of the ball, whether it's defense, scout team. He's out there taking drops today, like being a linebacker doing zone drops. He's so thrilled
pretty good resource
that he's here. Yeah. And I say it speaks to who Kevin Stefanski is as a head coach, a leader, and the security that he has in his job and his role to bring a guy like that in here because he knows he's going to help our organization.
Security and how secure he is in himself and his abilities.
I mean, totally.
We could have said the same thing last year with Jim Schwartz coming in here. Guys that have been head coaching, has had success, and Vrabel is going to be able to, whatever he wants to do next, it's going to be that type of situation for him in the league. There will be openings next year, and it's just a matter of what's he interested, what's
and
his
Bubba
why,
says having like the time of his life.
But he is. He doesn't decompress, and you can just like coach some ball, have some fun.
Totally. Yeah. Doesn't have to worry about the media obligations. Doesn't have to worry about a lot of the high stakes nature of the things that come along with being the head coach. But then you brought up Schwartz coming in last year, and I think that's another one of Stefanski's great strengths is knowing what he is, who he is, and what he isn't, and who he isn't. And I thought bringing in someone as fiery, as Jim Schwartz was such a great move and balance to the steady nature of Stefanski, and it allows for basically everything to be present. And so for the whole then would be greater than the sum of its parts, and I think that's a wonderful thing for the Cleveland Browns. It's funny, like I was interviewing Obo coming off the field today, and Schwartz walked by and was like, you're going to make some more sack predictions because Obo, when he was down in Houston, said he wanted to have 10 sacks this year. And Schwartz just gave him a little bit of razz. He's like, I had no problem with you making the prediction. You wanted 10 sacks. Like, I love that. Set goals and let's go work for him. He goes, but then the day after you made the prediction, you weren't here. He's like, so, and then Obo's like, I was here the next day and I haven't left since. And so they were just a fun back and forth. But you can see this is a group that is very familiar with each other. They know each other very well. I was talking about, Jacques Cesaire was his D-line coach in Houston when he had his breakout year that got him paid to come here. So it is definitely a fun bunch. But Bubba was saying, Vrabel is such a valuable asset and is also having the time of his life.
Mike went out of playing into Ohio State and immediately became on Urban's staff, which is an ultra-competitive staff, one of the best recruiters, one of the most invaluable pieces. He came with Luke, actually, when Luke Fickell had that job in an interim fashion first, and then he hung on. He stayed with Urban. Then he went to Houston and got on that staff, and then inevitably went to Tennessee very quickly, and all he did was win right away. Like, he's just really good at everything he does.
Yes.
And this would be another one of those things. So it's just incredible that we have him here. It's an incredible resource.
It really is.
This was the one where we got to see 4 throw.
Yep.
You were out there. Go.
Yeah, it was great. He threw a couple of them about 40 yards on a rope to Elijah Moore. He didn't participate in any of the 7-on-7s he participated in the 11-on-11 but didn't throw. He just kind of pointed where he would, go through the motion of throwing. But yeah, he did all the stuff early, looked good throwing the ball. He seems to be in great spirits. I talked to him when he was coming off the field, and he's like, he feels great. I think that he probably could do more. I think they're just being judicious about it because you don't need to prove that you can throw the ball more at OTAs. We want you throwing the ball when it matters. But I think there's a chance that we could see him do some team stuff before we break here for the summer.
I don't need to see any of it.
I don't need to see any of it.
I think I think that there is. I do think that it was a very good job of our PR department for making the media availability on a day he threw.
Yep.
Because otherwise it seems like that you have something hidden behind things or whatever.
Right.
So just now they've seen it and away you go. I also think that it is incumbent on those that cover and what you see on social and all of those things to understand this. What Deshaun Watson is on Thursday, May 30th is damn near irrelevant.
Yep.
It is almost irrelevant. That really he is in a rehabilitation process.
Yep.
He's not a finished product. This is not what he's going to be in August. This is not what he's going to be in September, October, November, December, when it really matters. This is a quarterback who had a major shoulder injury, surgery, and is rehabbing from it.
Yep.
And with rehab comes steps and benchmarks and things that you're trying to do. So jumping all over what happens on an individual throw here or there is quite honestly nonsense. It really is. Because he's building towards something. He isn't finished.
Right.
And to not have that context, I think sometimes there isn't that context. It's like if there's a couple of throws going around where he overthrows Elijah, misses him wide or whatever. It's like, that's not what this is about.
He made a bunch of nice throws too.
That's not what this is about.
No.
But it's not what it's about right now. Whether he makes really nice throws now or poor throws now, none of it's what it's about. He's rehabbing. He's in a rehabilitation process.
What I think is most important is watching this offense and watching the scheme. And I know Ken Dorsey talked after the OTA today. And
we got Schwartz coming up in the 2 o'clock hour.
We got Schwartz coming up at 2 o'clock. So we're going to have I think it'd be I'm curious to hear what he said because we had to come up here, obviously, when that was happening. But, you can tell this offense has, we had some 4 receiver sets out there today. This is going to be a quarterback-friendly shotgun offense that it's what Deshaun does very well. And Jameis has operated it very effectively in his time here also. And Dorsey today was the one on the headset with them. So I don't know if he was asked about that or if that's an indication of anything or if they're just trying, it's OTAs. Maybe you call it one day, I'll call it one day, and we'll go from there. But you can tell that there's a lot of excitement there and comfort there.
What else you see? What else jumped out?
From receivers, Elijah looked great. Had a couple of really nice routes. Cedric Tillman looks much better, much improved. And I hope that, look, he's got shorts on right now. You hope that carries over, but had a nice route in a man coverage situation against MJ Emerson. Got open on a 3rd down for a nice pass from Jameis. Had a nice catch in the contested catch touchdown in the end zone. So he looked really good. Denzel Ward looks phenomenal. MJ looks phenomenal. Those 2 guys were out there today. Devin Bush can fly around the field. That's very apparent. And you know what? I like Deontay Foreman. I've kind of said that from the second we signed him, but getting to see him, he runs a lot like Steven Jackson. So he's like a little upright, but he's just a big, strong guy. And obviously was drafted by the Texans with Deshaun. So there's another piece of familiarity. You mentioned Vrabel, obviously, in Houston. It's fun. It looks like the team is having fun together. They are getting obviously very well coached. We know that. And it was interesting today watching Kevin Stefanski because, as I said, Dorsey was the one on the walkie-talkie calling the plays in, and he was just kind of head coaching, spending some time here with the offense, going and spend some time with the defense, spend some time with the special teams, walking around kind of seeing it all at one point, and I don't know really what it means. He presented Luke Whippler with an orange quarterback's jersey, and so Whippler walked off the field wearing an orange 56, and he said, I was like, what's up, dude? I was like, what's the story here? And he's like, Coach just gave it to me and said I'm going to be playing some quarterback. So he's got an orange 56, which was pretty funny.
I wonder if that's one of those things where, you put a little wrinkle in for some fun in OTAs.
And then throw that.
All of a sudden, centers are playing quarterback.
A center option, yeah.
Something like that to have
but it was a big deal. The offensive line room was very excited about it. Very excited.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. This was the one where it's really about Deshaun and being able to see him sling it a little bit and it's a rehab process, and that's where he's in the middle of right now. And as you said, some really good throws out there. Some of the other ones are good to be expected as well because that's where you're at. You mentioned Dorsey. You mentioned the 4 wides. The thing with Tillman, that would be – I I hesitate even going down this road just because, unfortunately we had a good one last year, and then that was derailed because of the health concerns and the issues. But like, he was the story of OTAs last year, was his ability to get deep, and he would do it every single practice. But if Tillman can develop into, what he was kind of drafted to be, because he's got a body type that nobody else has. He looks different than anybody else 100%. Out there.
Yep.
And so he would give you something that you are kind of lacking. He would give you that big body in the corner of the end zone, and if he can make those type of plays, then that could be a game changer.
Well, he would allow you too in some of those, if we do some 4 receiver sets, to put, if you go 2 by 2, to put him on the outside, and then you can put Amari and Judy on the inside. You can put Amari and Elijah on the inside, Judy and Elijah on the inside, and create difficult matchups. Or if you go 3 by 1, you can get him on the outside. You have the 2 guys inside, and then you get Amari on the other back end of that, and you're going to have now dictating coverage and what they're going to be able to do. So I think him coming along, and he's a good blocker in the run game. And so a lot of these run plays, when you're running against lighter boxes in a more spread out formation, going to come down to wide receiver blocks down the field if they're really going to pop. So yeah, I think it would be great to see him continue to develop. Elijah looked great today. I think this is an offense that's going to suit him. I actually got to talk to him as well. It's going to be a lot more about route running in this, and getting guys who can get themselves open, choice routes, option routes, whatever you want to call them, where everybody's reading the same thing, and then they have an opportunity, break it in, break it out, and read the coverage will dictate it, but also their ability to separate will dictate it. So I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff like that, and we have in Amari, Elijah, and Judy 3 guys who are elite against man coverage and their ability to separate. So I think there's going to be fun stuff, and then if you're that good against man, now you force them to play a bunch of zones, and when you know that that's what they're doing, then all of a sudden for a quarterback, you know where the soft spots are in the zones, and you know how to attack them.
Those are your hot topics today, presented by University Hospitals. And by the way, hey, Browns fans, check out Vivid Seats, official fan experience packages for this season's games. Purchase Vivid Seats Terrace Experience seats. Score club access, parking, and pregame field pass, all included. Visit vividseats.com to learn more on that. We will go around the league coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. And it's Bo here for my team at Renew Home Exteriors. Is it time to update the exterior of your home? Might just be if you're tired of that same old vinyl siding. Receive 10% off Renew's luxury composite clad siding during the spring siding sale. Composite not only outshines vinyl, but it comes in 20 vibrant, maintenance-free colors to suit your lifestyle. Imagine a stunning exterior without the hassle. Renew your home with Renew Home Exteriors composite clad siding. Renew Home Exteriors, superior products and superior service. Visit renewestimate.com for more. Before we go around the league, I did want to share this with you. Last day of school with the boys, so I wanted to share this story with your spirit animal I had last night. So I texted you. We did go to Costco, and I had no reason to believe that we were. Well, I'll tell this story really quickly, and then I'll get to the one that's even better. So we were walking.
I don't know. The first one's pretty good.
We're walking by the condiment aisle, and he sees Q-Pie, I think it is. I really wasn't even sure what it is, but it is a type of mayonnaise.
Ugh.
And so he goes to me, he goes, "What is that?" And I said, "It's mayo." And he goes, "Ew, gross. I hate mayo," which I know you hate mayo.
Hate it.
I had no idea he hated mayo.
Of course he does.
So one more thing linking the two of you.
Yeah.
So we get in the car. There's 2 things he likes more than Costco. We go there about once a week. He goes 90% of the time with me. It's just me and him. And he's so comfortable there that he will really just run off and go anywhere, and he treats it almost like his giant playground, honest to God. Like he'll run to the stuffies, and then he'll run over to the pool supplies, and he's running to the meats, and he's real big on the snacks. I usually let him pick up. He will eat any sample that's there. He'll try anything. Like he won't eat anything at home, but there, if it's there, he's got it. They had some sweet, spicy salsa and he doesn't like spicy things, so maybe he'll grow into that. But he fired that in, gave it a shot, no hesitation. At home, no chance. So
like
pure joy.
My uncle, Stevie Boy, he would go and with his kids, and they would just go to Costco, and they'd like go there just to hit the sample circuit.
I saw somebody doing that about a month ago. I was there, and they were doing the sample circuit without a cart.
Yeah,
and I thought that takes some onions to not at least have a
like
cart.
A bold pretend like
throw
we're
some
buy,
olive oil in.
We're gonna buy something.
No, none. They were just walking around eating the food. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So we get in the car.
Now you know 2 people.
Now I know 2 people who do it. Uncle Stevie. So we get in the car, and I really wish I was recording it. I really wish I would have set up. I should have thought about this, but it just kind of came to me, and I did it. So I said, "Listen, you're getting older. Your mother and I are going to have a conversation with you and your brothers at home tonight, and I want to give you a heads up about it because I don't want you to be overly dramatic or distressed." And he goes, okay. I said, "I think you're getting older, and I think you can handle it." And he goes, "Okay." And I said, we talked to a lot of people in the education world, and the feeling is that 2.5 months off is too long, and that you guys will lose a lot of what you've learned this year.
You did not do this."
So I go, "What we decided to do is to give you guys some summer school. So it's going to be noon, or it's going to be 8 to noon from June 15th through the end of July." And as I'm saying this, his face is just sinking. Like it's just dropping.
This is mean.
It was unbelievable. So then
this is like when you scared him at Halloween.
I can't believe I didn't record that too. So then I started to. Then as I kept going, like I started to crack because I was dying because of how pissed off he was getting, and it was a mix between pissed off and sad. And
what was your wife doing?
She wasn't there. It was just me and him.
Oh,
yeah, it was just him and
I.
I.
You were saying
no, I was giving him a heads up because
I'm
going to give him a heads up because I didn't want him to be overly dramatic when we got it home and do it because I don't think the other 2 would have bought it. I think they would have saw through it. He's like the last age that would kind of buy it. And he just goes, "Oh, come on, what the heck?" That was his response to it. He goes, "Are you serious? I hate school. Why would we want to do that?" And he just kept, was really aggressive and yelling. And I'm like, I finally even had a little bit of a tear in his eye. He was so crushed at the notion that I was going to put him into more school. It would have been unbelievable if I had it recorded. So I finally started laughing. I broke it to him, and then but then it took 6s. "You're kidding, right, Dad? Are you really kidding? Don't screw around with that." And so that was, if I would have had a camera on it, would have been an all-timer. It really was remarkable. Really remarkable.
I'm going to tell you something. You do a few things that are right out of the book of Pedro.
They are. That's no question. I do several things for my own enjoyment.
Yes.
There's no question.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, that was a good one for him. So today's the last day, and then away we go.
Away we go.
Around the league. Jalen Waddle, 3 years, 84.75, 76 guaranteed. They're going to pay $58 million to 2 receivers.
They're good.
They are good.
That's what they do down there. Yeah, it's a good deal for him. Jalen Waddle's been incredibly productive. His combination with Tyreek Hill, it's probably the best 1-2 in the league, or it's certainly in.
It's pretty comparable to Chase and Higgins, honestly.
Waddle's been better than Higgins, I think, ever has been. Don't you think?
Waddle's Jay Morrison, who, my wife was listening. She said, I didn't know you did that to Paxi. That was so mean.
So mean.
It was.
Agreed.
It was rough.
It was.
It was unbelievable.
I mean, Waddle 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons. His best year was 75, 13, 56, and 8. So he's a little ahead of where T is.
Here, I'll pull up Higgins. Well, last year he was hurt.
So they got, 3 years under their belts together?
Higgins and Chase?
Yeah. No, Higgins and Waddle. Waddle's played 3 years in the league.
Yeah. Higgins has played 4 years in the league. Last year he was hurt. So Higgins went 67, 908, 13.6 a reception, 6 touchdowns year 1, 74, 10, 91, 14.7, 6 touchdowns year 2, 74, 10, 29, 13.9, 7 touchdowns year 3, and then last year he was 656, 5 touchdowns, 15.6 per. That was in 11 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Different styles, I would say, but yes.
Yeah, it's interesting because the 2 Miami guys are stylistically pretty similar.
Yeah.
Whereas Higgins is quite a bit different than Chase. They actually make a pretty good kind of a good mix. The 2 of them off of each other.
Are they starting to think that he will end up there? Or
no. So this is where they are with it, and it's kind of a wild thing. Like they're basically betting on it being so they're paying him the franchise tag, $21 million. They're betting on it being incumbent of him to ball out so that he gets paid next year, and then they will either tag and trade him again or let him walk for a third.
Okay.
But they're nowhere near. Like he wants to be in like that $25 million a year thing.
Yep.
Like I think he would love to have the Waddle deal. Well, clearly the Waddle deal, but even the Nico Collins deal, I think he would take the Nico Collins deal. But I think they're more in the lines of like the 21 million range. So maybe that's 3 years, 60 with 50 some guaranteed, and Higgins wants to be up in the 3 for 75.
I just don't know that he's shown that.
It's hard to know because when Chase doesn't play, he's electric.
Really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's hard to, he only had the 1 year without Chase, and that was Burrow's rookie year, and Burrow got hurt.
Right.
So he's never really he's never been like that guy with Burrow and Chase.
Yeah.
So like when Chase isn't gone though, he goes nuts. So we'll see. I just think it's interesting that their whole philosophy is like franchise, let them walk, take compensatory picks. Like they did that with Bates. Like these are dudes, and they're not re-signing them, and they're not restructuring, and they're just letting them play out contracts, assets, and then you just walk. Like it benefits us, but it's just a strange way to do business, I think.
It's a very strange way in. I mean,
Tyler Boyd left.
Bates left. Like Bates went and was first team All-Pro, wasn't he?
That's right. Yeah.
In Atlanta and changed that defense. Yeah.
And they'd been doing the same thing with him, where he had the holdout, showed up for the second preseason game, then balled out, got paid by Atlanta. But it's like, I don't know, if you have Jesse Bates, that's an asset.
Yeah.
So even if you don't want to pay him, make a deal.
He's not Ed Reed, so I don't want to say, but it would be as if the Ravens' mantra was, oh, yeah, we've got Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, but we really don't want to pay him. We're going to let them walk.
Yeah, and we'll take a third-round pick.
In
exchange.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a strange
Jonathan Ogden? Who needs him?
Don't need him. C.J. Stroud wins the Pro Football Writers Good Guys Award. Among the finalists was our own Joel Bitonio. C.J. is a good guy, so is Joel.
Yeah, Joel's. That's a strong win for a rookie. I feel like Joel's built up that capital over many, many years.
I think probably the way
I do like CJ on podcasts or in speaking situations where he's got another player who is clearly less equipped to argue with him, and he just crushes them like he did Micah Parsons. It was great.
Yeah. He's really bright.
Yeah, he seems like
he's very bright. He's very grounded.
Yep.
He's really earned he's worked his butt off for everything he's earned, and he just was a lot better than. I think the other thing with CJ is nobody expected him to be that good that quick, and he really was pretty exceptional.
And I don't know why. I mean,
I think
you saw what he did against Georgia. It was Ohio's right. It was because of Haskins and Fields.
Yeah, it was like, well, they're throwing to guys who are wide open all the time. So
best receivers in the world,
right?
Which is fair. He just happens to also be very good.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Joe Burrow was throwing to the best group of receivers, and turns out Joe Burrow was also really good.
Yes, it can be both.
Right.
It absolutely
most certainly can be.
Juwan Jennings signs a 2-year deal, $15.4 million to stay in San Francisco.
Okay, 2 years, $15 million, which is not a huge deal.
Yep,
but it's not a nothing deal.
No.
Do you have any guess as to his statistics in 2023?
I don't want to do guess the stats.
You want to do it, Gibbe?
I like a challenge.
All right, Juwan Jennings receiving statistics.
I like him.
2023.
I'm going to say he caught 35 balls.
Okay.
For 423 yards.
Okay.
And 3 touchdowns. But he had didn't he have a touchdown in the Super Bowl?
He most certainly did.
Thank you.
Good job out of you, Gibbe.
Good job out of you, Gibbe. So his totals for this past season, 19 catches, 265 yards, 1 touchdown.
Wow.
But
in the playoffs, in 3 games in the playoffs, he caught 10 balls for 111 yards and 1 touchdown.
He's just a guy that stands out on the field.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah.
It's interesting. That's a pretty good deal for him, 7.5 a year, based on what he has produced from a statistical standpoint. I know my dad is pleased about it. My dad loves Juwan Jennings. My dad thinks there should be a lot more Juwan Jennings action going. But it's a good contract for him because there really hasn't been a whole lot in terms of, and he's not a special teams player. So good for him.
I did not see this on the. I didn't see this story. This Isaiah Buggs story.
I don't like it. I don't want any part of it.
More legal. Oh no.
Yeah, no.
No thanks.
No.
I'll pass.
If he did it, I hope he gets in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. All right. Coming up next, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back in. Second hour, Cleveland Browns Daily. It's brought to you by Ballybet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio. We head to the podium. Presented by Vivid Seats, official fan experience partner of your Cleveland Browns, defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz.
How much have you
You're down.
a carryover from the? I mean, you have a lot of guys back on that, on your side of the ball. How much have you noticed? Maybe an ease coming into, picking things up and being able to maybe a faster start to the offseason program.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously in a different spot because we have a year in the system. So I think what that affords us is the ability to work on more change-ups. Like, we're a fastball team, right? We do what we do. We try to do it really well. But there were some things that we sort of held back last year, just from a standpoint that we sort of triaged it and said, okay, what can we reasonably expect to get good at and to master in one off season? So we had to sort of pick and choose, but that now gives us a little bit of time because now we don't have to work on the fastball. Now we can, we can add different pitches, and you guys will get tired of my baseball analogies, but really that's what it is. We don't want to get away from the fastball, but it does give us a chance to work on some change-ups and some secondary pitches and add to our scheme. Like, just in general over my years, it seems like you sort of, I guess, rotate 20% of your schemes every year, right? Some things fall out of favor, some things lose their effectiveness, and then there's some new things that start trending across the league. So, I mean, that's just natural, but I do think there's some, some things that we can get to that we purposely sort of held back a little bit last year.
When we talked to Kevin last week, he said you and he watched the film together and saw a lot of improvements that could be made. What would he be talking about? What did you have to do better?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, first of all, you start with red zone, right? We played really well in a lot of areas. Red zone wasn't one, and you sort of dice that up a lot of different ways. And red zone's one of those things that you don't get a ton of reps on. So whatever, you flip a coin limited number of times, it can change. It's funny. I was watching a team this morning that was a top red zone defense. And I'm watching, and one game, the opponent finished by taking a knee in the red zone. That's a red zone win for the defense on the stats, There was another that they busted a coverage. A receiver was wide open, dropped the pass. Red zone win. Defense really didn't do anything to deserve that. There was another one where they kicked a field goal at the end of the game to win the game. Well, that's a red zone win for the defense on the stats. So you got to be careful a little bit about that. But that being said, we weren't good enough in the red zone. We had too many mistakes there, and that's certainly an area that we can improve on. But we're a defense. We tend to. You guys hear me. I don't talk a lot about our position, our defensive rankings or things like that, because we sort of judge ourselves against ourselves, right? And just because whatever, we were number 1 in an area or number 5 in an area. It's all about us and our improvement as opposed to what the rest of the league is doing. So, coming off of a pretty good year of defense, when you look at the film, there was a lot of room for improvement, not just in red zone, but in a lot of different areas. So, that's sort of the challenge. We can't get complacent. We can't think that last year is going to mean anything. Right now, last year means nothing. Everybody's right down to the bottom of the hill again, and you got to climb it again. I think we're in a little bit like the first question, we're in a little different spot just because we have some experience in the defense, but we can't think that we can't act as if anything's going to carry over from last year. We have to stay hungry that way. Go ahead, Tom.
Since January, the company line has been, it was a bad day to have a bad day
in
Houston. Can you add any more insight as you reflect?
We looked at it a lot, and obviously we're a high-risk defense, right? We're not a bend-but-don't-break team. We put a big emphasis on making plays and being aggressive. And my biggest takeaway from that was we chased plays in that game, right? instead of letting the plays come to us and making the plays that were there. And I thought for the most part of last year, we did a really good job of that, and in that game, we missed an interception fairly early in the game, and it just seemed like we were pressing, and guys played a little bit out of character instead of just doing their job with physical toughness and effort and some personality. All of a sudden, we played a little bit out of character, and we started pressing. And hopefully that's a great learning experience for us the next time we're in that situation. And I think the message is, when you get in those games, it's who can be themselves the best. And I think that that wasn't us when it came to like just letting plays come to us. You could see it. You could see it on film quite a bit. Guys were pressing. Guys were trying to make the play of the game. And we learned a very hard lesson, and we paid a dear price for that. Hopefully, we can use that to our advantage as we go forward.
Jim, when you mentioned chasing plays, I think I have an idea what you mean. Just a couple examples. How does it show up?
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's a quarterback scrambling, and you drop your coverage to try to get the quarterback, or you jump the first move of a receiver trying to make an interception. Or you run under a block because you're trying to make a tackle for a loss. I think, you saw all those things, pop up. You're playing a deep zone and you get a little bit antsy because you're trying to play tight and, make a play that maybe isn't yours to make. We have an expression on defense. We call it, don't farm land that's not yours. And, we, like I said, we made that mistake. We paid a very dear price for that, and we can't do anything about it now, but hopefully we can learn from it, and the next time we're in that situation, we can play better as a result.
Do you think a lot of that was just you had a lot of guys who don't have a ton of playoff experience? I mean, obviously you have some vets who do, but it's their first time or one of their first times in those stakes that you're more prone to kind of want to go big or go home in those?
Yeah, no excuse for it. I don't want to put it on that. I think the intention by the players was good. And I don't just put it on players. There were a couple times in there that even as a play caller, I started pressing, right? The game started getting away from us a little bit, and I started pressing. It's like, oh, let me dial this up, see if it – and, a lot of times it just makes things worse. So, there's a lot of that happen, but I wouldn't consider it I wouldn't let us off the hook by just saying, it was guys not having experience. We had a lot of experience playing big games. That one we didn't play the way we should have.
How nice is it for you to have
thing at all?
Mike Vrabel around, and how do you think he might be able to help you just in terms of the defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very vocal about the respect I have for Vrabes and, the relationship that we have. And, I think it's awesome to have different sounding boards, having guys with experience in, different things. I know he's been a big help to Kevin. Kevin's been pretty vocal about that. And, have you guys talked to Bubba yet? Yeah, I'm sure Bubba's said the same thing. Anytime you can add experienced guys that have Coach of the Year trophies, I think it's a good thing for us.
In addition to McLeod, you now have Jordan Hicks who played for you, Philly, and he's in a pretty pivotal role, probably be the quarterback of the defense in the middle. How comforting is that to you, and how will that manifest?
Yeah, do have some experience with Jordan. I have a lot of respect for Jordan. He's had a lot of success in the NFL in a lot of different schemes. His rookie year, he played in one scheme in Philly, and then continued with me, I think, for I think it was 3 years. Changed schemes, Arizona, changed schemes, Minnesota twice, had sort of scheme change, and he's remained a good player through all that. So I think the familiarity with the scheme is probably a little bit overplayed, but I would say this about Jordan. Number one, he's a playmaker. Number two, he is an outstanding communicator. And we lost a lot of communication and leadership with losing Sione and losing Awalk. So it's going to fall to Jordan to pick some of that up. And He's got a great track record of doing those kind of things.
Jim, the difference just between the home and road performance for defense, any thoughts on what was going on there?
Yeah, that's another thing we looked at real hard. I think the first thing that needs to be said there, I think it's a good thing that we play so good at home. It's like, okay. But then again, you look at it and it's like, okay, if the splits where we played good on the road and great at home, okay. But we looked at a lot of different ways, and I'll give you just one example. There was no difference at all between our pressure rate at home or on the road, right? Our pressure rate was almost identical, but our sack numbers were way up at home as opposed to on the road. We diced it a lot of different ways. We had a game at the end of the season that we were trying to get through to the playoffs. So it's like, okay, well, let's scratch that game and see where it was. The first Houston game, we were getting ready for a Thursday night game. The game was pretty much in hand. We emptied the bench, and okay, so some of those stats, okay, let's throw those away. Okay, there were some games we had, a couple key injuries. Let's try to throw those away. Even when you get rid of those things, the splits were still there, right? The splits were still there, and we looked at play calling, and it's like, okay, I don't think I called it different at home or away, but let's take a look at it. Our percentages of man, zone, blitz were pretty much identical for man and for home and away. So, I think that in some ways it's something to keep an eye on. It's something to, for us to continue to emphasize. But you also don't.
How much have you noticed a carryover from the? I mean, you have a lot of guys back on your side of the ball. How much have you noticed? Maybe an ease coming into picking things up and being able to maybe a faster start to the off-season program.
Yeah, I mean and I'll give you just one example. There was no difference at all between our pressure rate at home or on the road, right? Our pressure rate was almost identical, but our sack numbers were way up at home as opposed to on the road. We diced it a lot of different ways. We had a game at the end of the season that we were trying to get through to the playoffs. So it's like, okay, well, let's scratch that game and see where it was. The first Houston game, we were getting ready for a Thursday night game. The game was pretty much in hand. We emptied the bench, and okay, so some of those stats, okay, let's throw those away. Okay, there were some games we had, a couple key injuries. Let's try to throw those away. Even when you get rid of those things, the splits were still there, right? The splits were still there, and we looked at play calling, and it's like, okay, I don't think I called it different at home or away, but let's take a look at it. Our percentages of man, zone, blitz were pretty much identical for man and for home and away. So, I think that in some ways it's something to keep an eye on. It's something to, for us to continue to emphasize. But you also don't want to overreact, right? You're talking about basically 6.5 games, and it's like, okay, does this change, or does this mean that we should change things on the road, or should we just have more time on task and keep persevering? I sort of tend toward the latter on that.
Was there more of the chasing thing?
Time for two more.
What's that?
The chasing thing you talked about?
No, I don't think that was it at all. Yeah, I don't think that was it at all. I mean, I think that, again, you have to take some of those games and say, okay, well, is this like what's the circumstance? The last Cincinnati game, what's the circumstance? Should you be judged on that? Probably not. Like a couple end games. But then again, like there's other things, and again, there's some stuff that maybe you don't want to overreact to. Again, pressure rate almost identical home and away. Our sacks were way up at home. Is that just sort of the way the ball bounces, or is there more to it? I probably think that's just a little bit more on the way the ball bounces, but we need to continue to play well at home. We're a good home team, and we need to pick our game up a little bit on the road. And, we're an energy defense too. right? And I think if you watch our film, you see guys play with a lot of energy and camaraderie and those kind of things. That's easy to do at home. We have a great crowd for that, and that's easy for our guys to accomplish. You can sort of bring your own juice on the road a lot of times, and I think we can do that.
In fact, you played better quarterbacks on the road last year?
We looked at that too, and we looked at quarterback rating. I mean, slightly better. And we had sometimes we had a few more injuries on the road. I don't think any of it excuses it or any of it explains it all away. It would be one thing to say, okay, well, we just had some really tough offenses on the road. Well, that's true, but you have tough offenses at home too. I think we're obviously still a work in progress there. It's on our radar, but we don't want to put it so much on our radar that we take away from what we did well and change the things that we do well.
What does Jacques Cesaire bring to the table, and is there a little change of philosophy up front with him, or how are things going?
No, really no change of philosophy. We're an attack team up front. Jacques has experience in that. Jacques did a Bill Walsh internship when I was in Philly, and that was his first introduction to it. I thought he did a really good job at Houston. Last year, I have some guys on that staff that know him really well. He brings a former player perspective. He brings a lot of energy here. He is a very demanding coach. He played the position in the NFL for a long time. He's got experience in a lot of different ways. And probably the biggest thing that I want to say respect about Jacques played 9 or 10 years. I'm not sure exactly what it is. But when he started his coaching career, he started at the bottom. And there's a lot of guys that play long in the NFL that would like to get into coaching, but they feel like they should start at the top. And Jacques started at small school. He started with internships, worked his way up from an assistant D-line coach to a D-line coach. And I think that journey says a lot about him, that he was willing to be a beginner again. He was willing to start at the bottom. And I think our players will. I respect that, and I know our players will too. I'm really excited about adding Jacques. I think that's going to be a big addition for us on defense. Okay, guys. Yep.
All right, there you go. Your defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, at the podium. We play a little thing or not a thing around the league, some bold predictions. And coming up a little bit later, it is a Mailbag Thursday edition of the program. Get your questions into Gibbe, and we will handle those coming up as well. You're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily. It's brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns, now live in Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. We're brought to you by Ballybet. Time for a little thing or not a thing. Hello, Gibby.
Good. Hi, buddy.
How you doing, man?
Oh, rolling through a Thursday.
We are rolling through a Thursday.
Do you want to hear from A.J. Hawk and Pat McAfee talking about Mike Vrabel today at practice?
Ask the franchise.
Sure.
Kev, if you got that.
There's a fired coach that is now a consultant.
Guys are down.
Maybe just a tag team partner of the Cleveland Browns. Mike Vrabel is on the field at OTAs. This comes via John Sable, who works at Fox 8 News in Cleveland. And he actually says there, if there was audio, he said, I'm punching that out as soon as you get it. Could you imagine having Vrabel just hanging around the team? What a weapon for the Cleveland Browns. This seems genius for Stefanski.
Yeah, it does. I wonder, I'm sure as the season goes, too, like Vrabel's role will morph and change, and he's going to, like right now, you see him running the cards for like scout team defense, trying to get the offense. Imagine these O-linemen, like what he's saying to these dudes, like how he's talking to them about how he's going to dominate them if he wanted to, put his helmet on and run right through them. Like I bet Braves going to bring a lot of value to this team this year.
Yeah, let me tell you what he's saying right here. Ready? And sack. That's what he screamed. That's what he just screamed right there in the middle of that particular rep. But I mean, what a weapon this guy's going to be for the Cleveland Browns. I would actually put this as something that would heighten 2 to 3, I think 2 more games, winning games, with having Vrabel just hang around. He's got no real responsibility other than make the team better, right?
Yeah.
That's what we assume with these roles?
Mm-hmm. That's what it feels like, isn't it? I mean, what is this? What do we know what his title might be? I don't even know.
Is it senior consultant? Or,
yeah. Okay.
It's, hey, we're not paying him the Tennessee Titans are, but he's going to be hanging around. I think that's what it's called.
Can you have as many consultants as you want in the NFL? I don't know. I know in college there's all different kinds of rules they have.
Okay, so I think I talked to Shane Steichen about this. I think there is a max that you can have in the entire thing. Now, college, there's different titles that are allowed to be on the field, not allowed to be on the field. Who can they talk to? How can they talk to? How many hours can they talk to? In the NFL, I think there is a max amount of coaches you can have. I don't know about consultants or advisors, though.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say, because would advisor fall under consultant, or are those two separate things? Because then you can kind of double them up.
Yeah, because you can have the assistant to the assistant.
Bingo, yeah.
And then that can kind of slip in there. I assume this has been handled, though, because teams have tried to do this too much, and some other billionaire got pissed that his team wasn't doing it, so they had to make a rule. But Vrabel seems like the perfect one, especially an Ohio guy going back to Cleveland. Good for them, dude. Good for the Browns.
Yeah, he grew up not too far from there. So, yeah, I mean, I can imagine. Like, Braves will get a ton of cheers if he gets to go on the field for game day. I hope he is on the sideline.
They better intro him.
Yeah,
they should. Last.
Yeah, or
bring him out last.
Lead out, maybe.
Let him wear his high school uniform. His Walsh Jesuit high school uniform. Let him wear that.
And then have him put those glasses on, smash that guitar like he's the Miz, before those Cleveland Browns games, and let all of Ohio go crazy.
That's pretty great. I was at Walsh too last weekend for Beamsy's lacrosse, and Mike donated a bunch of money, and they designed their weight room's incredible that he helped design and oversaw. It's unbelievable what they've done.
That's really cool.
So it was really cool, and I think that's part of it, right? Like he's back home.
Yeah, he's back home.
He's not at any NFL team. He's at the hometown team.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's having a blast out there.
Yeah.
That was big takeaway from today's OTA. What a good time he's having. It's funny they mentioned the scout team cards. Bubba said he's so good at he's getting us better looks in practice because he knows he can tell these guys exactly what they need to be doing on the scouts. Like you have Mike Vrabel telling them,
right?
Not some
he's so overqualified,
right? Not a quality control coach who's like, I think you do this. He's like, no, Vrabel's like, do this,
do that. Yeah, so good, huge advantage.
It is. It's a big advantage.
Yeah. All right, little thing or not a thing, Gibby.
All right, shall we? From Judy Batista, NFL.com, her bold predictions for the 2024 season. We'll see if you agree or disagree. The Bears make the playoffs. Thing or not a thing? Bishop.
Not a thing, barely. Not a thing, barely. I think they're right there. I think that division. I think two teams in that division are going to make it. I think it'll be Detroit and Green Bay. I really could see them at. The other thing too, you have to remember with the NFC is there's going to be some teams that are going to lap the field a little bit. Like the Niners are going to lap it. Like I can almost talk myself into three of them. They're right on the edge. I'm just going to say no, just because they're the Bears and they can't have nice things. So I think they're just going to miss it. But I could see them going 9-8 or 10-7.
Zagura.
It's a thing, baby.
Yeah.
Baby doll.
Could be.
Baby doll teed it up with the general manager of the Chicago Bears yesterday.
Oh, really?
And he's bullish. Obviously, Browns fan first and foremost, but he's bullish on the Bears. I think it's a thing. I think they have too much talent. I think you look at it. I only think one team's coming out of the South. I think it's possible that you get 2 teams out of the West. Possible. I think it's possible you get 2 teams out of the East. So I do think it's in play. You could get all 3 out of there.
Very much in play. I mean, you just laid out the scenario. Yeah, they could. They absolutely could do it.
The Jets make the playoffs and lose in the divisional round.
I love this thing. I mean, if Rodgers plays the season, they will make the playoffs. And then to have them lose right away would be great.
Bishop?
Yeah, I mean, it feels like it could be a thing for sure. They have a really good roster. He missed a whole year, though, and he's in his 40s. So, you know. I guess Manning wasn't that old. Manning was in his mid-30s when he missed that whole year with the neck.
Yeah.
And then he came back and was lights out.
That was a much different injury in the sense that neck, it felt like, affected as he went on and on, as he got older, affected his arm strength.
It did, but it didn't right away.
Not right
because
away.
he was unbelievable the next year. He was
maybe
maybe the best season a quarterback's ever had.
Right.
Bo, start with you. The Eagles return to the Super Bowl. Saquon just misses eclipsing 2,000 yards from scrimmage.
I think not a thing. I don't think they return to the Super Bowl, and I don't think Saquon is going to just miss eclipsing 2,000 yards. They'll be fine. They'll be a playoff team for sure. But I mean, Saquon would have to stay healthy throughout, and plus they have Hurts who does all the running. Like it's too spread out to go 2,000 yards for one guy.
Zagura.
D-Nat, double not a thing. Agreed.
Yeah.
Next, Cowboys make the playoffs, but exit early, fire McCarthy, and hire Belichick for 2025. Zagura, a thing or not?
I don't see Belichick and Jerry Jones coexisting, but I want this to be a thing, so I'm saying thing.
I think it's the only place, honestly, he could coach is Dallas. I think it's the only place that would hire him at this point.
How is that possible?
He's just getting old.
I just don't know how they coexist.
You know, he coexisted with Belichick or with Parcells, and that's when he was much younger and had much more ego. Like he could do it. But I don't know that I could see it happening like in the middle of this season. Like forget waiting until they've screwed it up. Like if they get off to, I don't know what their schedule looks like, but if they were to get off to a slow start, could I see Jerry bouncing him and bringing in Belichick right away? Yeah.
Oh baby.
I'm going to combine these next two, Bishop, for you. Bengals make the AFC Championship but lose to the Chiefs, who three-peat.
Well, I'm never picking against the Kansas City Chiefs again. So I've picked for them, and that's always been a very, very sound bet. The Bengals making the AFC Championship game is entirely predicated on Joe Burrow's health. If Joe Burrow is healthy, that's what they do. They've 2 years healthy, AFC Championship game, Super Bowl. Is Burrow healthy? So, you know, I don't know. I like our chances in there, by the way, as well. So I'm going to say not a thing.
Not a thing.
But it would be really hard to not.
And I'm not.
At the beginning of the year, it'd be hard not to say Kansas City do
it's
it
hard
again.
To win Super three-peat. No, not a thing.
Yeah.
Up next, Kirk Cousins plays the whole season. Penix stays on the bench. And Wilson, I'll go to the next one next. Kirk Cousins plays the whole season. Penix stays on the bench. Thing or not a thing?
Thing. Yes. Love it.
Agreed. I think he plays the whole year. Penix
I think he plays well.
And he'll play well down there.
Penix isn't going to play for like 4 years.
I think it would be less than that, but I don't think it'll be next year.
If Cousins is good, he's going to play at least 3 years.
Maybe. It could be 2. I mean, you could start to. You're going to start to
takes him to
deteriorate age-wise too, though. You know,
he
he's
takes him
getting
to
up
the
there.
playoffs.
Yeah.
From the land of hot dog water, Russell Wilson benched for Justin Fields. Thing or not a thing, Bishop?
Yes.
It'll happen at some point.
It'll happen at some point, and I wouldn't even be surprised if Fields wins it right away. I'll tell you, if I could pick any place for Hard Knocks, it would be there.
Yes.
I would love to see how that what is going on behind the scenes, what those practices look like, how Wilson and Fields are coexisting, how
What
Fields
Wilson's
is
just
winning.
like.
Right. How Fields is winning the locker room, which is going to happen without a question. He's an alpha. And how Russ, despite that, is still the guy. I just think Tomlin managing all of that.
Yeah,
there's 1,000 layers to it. I'd love to see Hard Knocks there.
I would too. They've never done it.
Where are they this year? Do we know?
They haven't announced it.
for
They're
this.
doing.
Pittsburgh's never done it.
They're doing the. Aren't they doing the Giants?
They are. I'm not in. I don't need that. That's to me like, that's what we do with Unleashed.
That would be worth watching if it was your team.
Yeah, but like the teams already do that, so I don't need an NFL Films version of that. But Hard Knocks, by the way, I didn't like the in-season Hard Knocks either. I wasn't interested in that. I like the Hard Knocks the way that it is.
Yep, same.
Thing or not a thing, Derrick Henry gets 1,600 rushing yards with Baltimore.
No.
Not a thing.
No.
You know what? I want it to happen. Absolutely. Because that means they're not giving the ball to the MVP that can run the football.
Yeah, no. And I don't think they would want that. If he ran for 1,600 yards, I would say that'd be a long season for them.
They want him carrying it 300 times, supposedly.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Last year, he carried it 280 times. He hasn't had a 16-yard season since 2020.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Not happening.
Thing or not a thing, final one. Harbaugh and the new-look Chargers pose an immediate challenge to the Kansas City Chiefs. Zagura.
I don't think that's a thing, but I think they are going to contend for a playoff spot.
I think one thing that is we did this yesterday. Where were they on the over-unders? Weren't they like 6.5 or 7.5, something like that?
No, higher.
I think they were higher. I think they were 9.5.
Yeah,
Chargers
8.5 or 9. Hold on, let's see.
8.5 or 9.5.
Were they really?
Oh no, it's not here. It's been thrown out. It's been thrown.
Might have been 8.5.
It's 8.5 or it was around 9. It's either 8.5 or 9.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
I like them over that, and I think
you like them as over.
I think they'll win. I think he'll win right away. But no, they're not a serious challenger to Kansas City. But I think he can coach. Everywhere he goes, they win right away. I mean, he had that lull in the middle of the Michigan tenure around COVID, but at the beginning and the end of the Michigan tenure, he won. He just didn't beat Ohio State at the beginning, and then he beat him at the end.
Yeah.
So look what he did in San Francisco right away. He did it at Stanford. They beat USC when he was at Stanford. He can win.
He can win.
He'll bring a culture, and there'll be an accountability, and they'll win
work for about 5 years, and then
then you got to get out. You got to get out, but it'll work in the time that he's there at the beginning.
That's thing or not a thing for a Thursday.
There you go. Little mailbag coming up next. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Time for a little Mailbag Thursday presented by the Cross Country Mortgage Company, the official mortgage partner of your Cleveland Browns when it comes to financing. They're going to get you home. Visit ccm.com today. Equal housing opportunity, NMLS 3029. Hello, Gibby.
Hi, gentlemen.
How are you, buddy? How'd you play last night?
Still in the lead.
Winner, baby.
Another step.
So are you just on fire?
Yep. I'm playing well enough. There have been a couple weeks that I had no business winning, but you play well enough to win.
I love it.
That's all you got to do.
I had some great shots last night. I had a par 3. I stuck it 4.5 feet from the pin.
Let's go, Gibby.
Off the tee.
Let's go. Gibby. Trombone Gibby.
Yes. So playing
Crushing
well. I feeling pretty good. Of course, right about the time I get to feeling really good, I'll put the clubs away in the middle of July because we'll have training.
Well, just think, in the next couple of years, you guys will be putting the clubs away middle of June. Right back to work.
You can go straight to hell.
Yeah.
That would honestly, I would just.
Like, I might have the Bootsy reaction to that the day that is told to me.
Like Bootsy.
Come on. Come on. Why would you do that?
Yeah. Let's not be stupid.
Poor little fella.
I know. He's just got such a...
He needs to be humbled a little bit. He's running around, never-ending boulevard of green lights. Every once in a while, get scared a little bit.
Hey,
doesn't seem good.
You gotta remind him who's in charge sometimes.
Yeah, and I gotta remind him that there's sometimes things happen that are unforeseen, and if those type of reminders also enjoy and lead to my entertainment, that's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. I see no issues with
this. It's amazing. I mean, God, if I don't know if that or me after trick-or-treating, knocking on the window in the Jason mask, I'm not sure what would have been more funny to see on tape.
You had tears, dude. Sprinting.
I had 3. I had 2 in tears. I had sprint.
1 gone.
Gone. Like a missile. 1 just went fetal position tears.
And we've never punished Bootsy.
No, and I don't even know what happened to the mask. Like, I put the mask someplace and it's gone. So I don't even know where it is.
Your wife throw that out?
Probably.
She was like, no.
It was really realistic. It was amazing.
He never got the snacks punishment, huh?
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's not been a no snacks punishment because we needed that.
No, it hasn't because, I mean, he's been since that was,
he knew.
I don't know if I told him.
I made it.
I could see you telling him on one of your little the Fortnite.
I know. We got to get on there. I miss
communications with him about it.
It's been a while.
I could see that. Letting him know that was possible to keep it between the navigational beacons.
Yeah. Well, I don't.
It's going to happen this summer. I mean, it's for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to happen.
He's going to be up late. He will have had snacks.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah. You can tweet your questions to @Browns_daily. Time for the mailbag. Preston. Apple Music released their top 100 albums of all time recently. We might have to get that list, Brock. What makes an album one of the greatest of all time, and what are some of your favorite albums personally?
Well, they don't even do they do albums anymore?
I guess.
So, like, the 2 that jumped to my mind from a, like, put it on, press play, good Lord, were Appetite for Destruction, opens with Welcome to the Jungle, and then Nirvana with the first is Smells Like Teen Spirit. Those 2, when I put them in the first time, were like, holy cow. That's different than stuff I've been hearing, man. And then the other one that did that was Dre, the Chronic. The Chronic.
That's on my list.
Chronic.
Chronic, Snoop, Chronic 2001.
Yeah. Like that first, you just, let's go. We're on.
I don't think we can even say Snoop's album's name on this program.
Probably not.
I mean, I could.
We have 17 minutes left. Let's not.
I easily could. Easily use it in a sentence.
My first CDs were Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream.
Oh, wow.
Very good one.
Great
What's
one.
the first song on that?
I can play it in my head, and I don't remember. It's one of their main. It's the CD.
Despite all your rage, it's still just a rat in a cage.
No,
1979.
That's
Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. Yeah.
And then Dave Matthews, Under the Table and Dreaming.
That's great. That goes, man. That's right. That one's awesome. That's awesome.
The original Hootie album.
Is the first is song 1 on Under the Table and Dreaming? Is song 1 Ants Marching?
No. Ants Marching is 5 or 6.
Down in a little bit.
Might be Warehouse. No,
could be. They're unbelievable live. They just crush, play forever.
Love a Dog Today. Based on Tuesday's show, I have a feeling I know the answer, but what's your stance on Bigfoot? As I get older, my wanting it to exist outweighs my belief in the big guy.
Why do we want? I wonder why he wants it to exist. What does he want it for?
I don't know.
I believe in it.
So, spending as much time as I have in the wilderness, I just think it's impossible
that we haven't come across it.
Yeah, I just think it's impossible that we haven't. There's just it's always that one same
walking through the woods,
right? That one same luck forever of him. There was great fun in that though as a kid though when you would it was like in the Guinness Book of World Records or whatever, and they'd have that same image of Bigfoot and then that same image of the Loch Ness Monster and like the thought that perhaps those things were real and existed. Yeah, we had a former quarterback who believed it.
Yeah,
pretty bigly. Yeah,
I want it.
I would be fine. I mean, I just feel like you would have come across him with camera phones.
Yes,
I feel like we would have come across him.
Kip Brusen, great to hear Bubba today. Here's a picture of Bubba with long flowing locks as a Brown next to my brother Mark when he coached strength and conditioning with the Browns.
That's really cool.
It's a
Kip's,
fantastic picture I'm going to send.
I want to say Kip's South Dakota Browns backers.
Yeah. Silent Night, if you were stranded on a desert island for a year, would you rather have your favorite music to listen to or watch your favorite movies till you were rescued?
Movies. Easy.
Easy. Not even a question. Yeah, there's music in movies. Guess what?
Yeah.
You get it all.
And also, like, you got the ocean. Yeah. The ocean provides a little music.
Yep. That no question.
Easy.
Enough from the clown for Uncle Bo. Your early take on OSU football this year and how Harbaugh's departure impacts the game.
Ohio State and Georgia are the two best teams in the country. Texas is second, but it's eighth. They don't have any weaknesses. They're completely loaded. They bought a team that is capable of winning a championship. I saw Ryan Day was kind of like bothered that they used that word bought. And my advice to him would be, instead of being bothered by it, just lean into it and say, yeah, we did. We're Ohio State. We have a lot of money. When really good players become available, we're going to pay them via NIL and get them here. It's legal now. Own it. I don't understand the idea of shying away from
free agency.
Like, own it. You have the money. Go. The Harbaugh loss is why last year's Michigan game was so critical. It was the last one of its kind. They could play next year. They could play in the last game of the season. They could play the next week in the Big Ten championship game. They could play in the college football playoff. That was their one shot, and there won't be another one quite like that.
And that would carry the weight of multiple. I mean, that was a big
it was huge. It was the biggest one. It was the biggest one probably since Tressel winning there in his first one. From a perception standpoint.
Chris,
I told you what the kids' personalized golf balls are this year. Did I tell you this?
No.
So he had his Titleist. It says 2020, what are they, 2024 national champ? 2023 national champ?
Yeah, whatever. Probably 2023.
2023 national champ. Beat them 3 in a row.
Yep.
Go blue. That's what it says on the side of his golf ball. He goes, when I lose one, I'm just going to be happy when some Ohio State guy picks it up.
I do like that. See, that's what the rivalries are all about.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that.
Real quick, Chris tweets at the show, go to summer bourbon cocktail.
It's very simple. Well, I'll do a quick story on it. Did I do this yesterday?
Did
I do the twist yesterday and then I do the story behind it?
No.
You do the story behind it.
Story behind it's this. I'll do it real quick. We got a little bit of time. In the book Pappyland, Wright Thompson's book on Julian Van Winkle, he chronicles an instance where Julian's with his son at a white tablecloth in Manhattan, and they have Pappy Van Winkle 20-year. And Julian's son walks up to the bartender and says, I'll have that on the rocks with a twist. And the bartender says, sir, I'm so sorry. I can't put that on the rocks, and I can't put a lemon in Pappy Van Winkle 20-year-old bourbon. It's just not the right thing to do with that whiskey. And the Julian son says, well, that's how he drank it, and that's how his grandpa drank it, and his grandpa's picture's on the bottle. So I never thought to do that. So I read the book, and I did it, and we're doing Basil Hayden now, and I love Basil Hayden. So you take a rocks glass, You pour Basil Hayden over the rocks glass, and then you do a lemon squeeze. And honestly, not only is it crisp and refreshing, but it almost is like a summer iced tea.
Yeah.
It's really refreshing and quite good. So that would be my not a cocktail, but just a bourbon on the rocks with a twist.
Yep.
It's good. Very good.
With a twist is just like the twist of the peel, right?
Of the lemon peel. Yeah, you just like that with the
So
zest.
you don't squeeze like an actual lemon.
No. Just like this.
Just a twist.
And then I'll put it around the rim.
Yeah.
And then drop the little slice of the lemon peel in.
Yep. Pedro used to like
good.
a Rob Roy up with a twist.
That feels like something It just feels like something to order.
Yeah.
It's perfect. A Rob Roy.
Yeah.
Probably for the mythology. Probably paid into it a little bit.
Totally.
Just cool to. That movie gets slept on. It's not bad.
It's excellent.
The Liam Neeson. He's Rob Roy.
It's a good every one. Bit as it's right there with Braveheart.
It is. It doesn't get the love Braveheart does, but it's very good. And I think if you didn't see it in the moment, it's probably forgotten, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't get a lot of play. Like
does
you
not.
Don't
I haven't seen it.
Rob Roy.
I have not seen it in 20 years, at least. All right. So much more to come. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.
About a minute. You're up.
All right, coming up tomorrow on the program, your 4th Victory Friday extravaganza. We will take a look back on that thrilling win.
Oh, man.
Against the Indianapolis Colts, which there was so much going on in that game. From the way it started to the way that it finished, everything in between, the miles, jump, all of it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we will relive that tomorrow on the program. The next level is coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.